to break out.
Today we're
through
looking
the
at the
day on
state
Friday.
of British
Stays
politics.
unsettled into the weekend, and it will turn a
Asking
bit
is
cooler
technology ruining
in the
football?
north of the UK.
Are we too obsessed with our phones?
Helen from Hull wants to know, how hot's the planet going to get?
And we'll explain why prices keep going up and up.
Also, Rach, did you know space has its own smell?
Really? What of? The world is fast moving and can be confusing.
So let's talk about it.
5 Live Breakfast with Rachel and Rick. Listen on BBC Sounds. BBC News at 1 with Ben Brown.
Today at 1, Britain's biggest police force, the Met, accused of institutional racism, misogyny and homophobia. A damning review into the force after the murder of Sarah Everard lays bare its failings and says it may have to be broken up.
There is, without doubt, a discriminatory culture right across the Metropolitan Police. It's not in pockets, it pervades the whole organisation.
We accept the findings of the report. Obviously, it's a deeply disturbing report. It sparks a range of emotions, and as I'm sure it does for viewers and Londoners, it sparks sort of anger, frustration, upset.
And in the last few minutes, the Home Secretary has said the Met faces a long road to recovery and that those not fit to wear the uniform must be prevented from doing so. Also, this lunchtime, Boris Johnson accepts he did mislead Parliament over lockdown parties in Downing Street, but says he didn't do it intentionally or recklessly. A warm handshake from the Chinese president for Vladimir Putin, even though the Russian leader is now wanted for war crimes in Ukraine. A new scheme to keep lung patients out of hospital as research shows a sharp north-south divide. And Maddie Hinch, who saved all 4 penalties to win Olympic gold for Great Britain, announces her retirement.
On BBC London,
And coming
after
up on
that
the BBC
damning
News
report
Channel,
into the
he's
Metropolitan
back.
Police,
Roy
which
Hodgson
found it was
returns to Crystal
institutionally
Palace,
racist,
tasked with keeping the
misogynistic and
club in the Premier
homophobic,
League
the Mayor of London,
again.
Sadiq Khan, gives us his reaction.
Good afternoon. A scathing report has found that Britain's biggest police force is institutionally racist, misogynist and homophobic. Baroness Case's review into the Metropolitan Police follows the murder of Sarah Everard by a serving officer, Wayne Cousins. The report says a boys' club culture is rife within the force. Well, the Met's Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, has admitted his force has let Londoners down, and he said today's report prompts feelings of shame, anger and embarrassment. Is our special correspondent, Lucy Manning. And let's talk to our home editor, Mark Easton, who's with me now. Mark, this, as we've heard, is a really, really damning report. What are the implications, not just for the Met, but for forces around the country? And what are the potential solutions?
Well, I think this is a potentially catastrophic moment for policing in this country, certainly in London. The report's almost certainly going to actually mean that trust and confidence, already low, will fall still further. But forces across England and Wales are vetting their forces again at the moment. And it means that every misconduct hearing, every court case...
Mark, thank you very much. Mark Easton, our home editor. The former Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has accepted that he did mislead Parliament over lockdown parties in Downing Street. But he insists the statements he made were in good faith and based on what he knew and believed at the time. His written evidence to a committee of MPs who are investigating him has just been published. Mr. Johnson says he did not intentionally or recklessly mislead the House of Commons in December 2021 and would never have dreamt of doing so. Well, our chief political correspondent, Nick Eardley, is at Westminster for us now with the latest. Nick. OK, Nick, thank you very much. Nick Eardley, our chief political correspondent. The Chinese president has described China and Russia as strategic partners. On the second day of Xi Jinping's visit to Moscow, he invited the Russian leader, Vladimir Putin, to Beijing. That's despite the fact that only last week, the International Criminal Court accused Mr. Putin of war crimes over the conflict in Ukraine and issued a warrant for his arrest. China does not recognise the court. Here's our diplomatic correspondent, Caroline Hawley. Here, a mental health unit criticised over the deaths of 3 teenagers was chaotic and unsafe, according to a report. An independent inquiry found excessive and inappropriate restraint was used at Middlesbrough's West Lane Hospital. The report also found self-harm was facilitated, with staff told not to intervene unless it could be fatal, while insufficiently curious leaders tolerated safety failures. West Lane Hospital has been renamed and the service is being run by another trust. Fiona Trott has the story. And if you are suffering distress or despair and need support, including urgent support, a list of organisations that can help is available at bbc.co.uk/actionline, or you can call for free to hear recorded information on 0800 066 066. Now the time is just 18 minutes past 1. Our top story this lunchtime. A damning review into Britain's biggest police force. The Met accuses it of institutional racism, misogyny and homophobia. And still to come, concerns about the number of people suffering medical complications after travelling to Turkey for weight loss surgery.
And coming up on BBC London, the young musician from Putney who's raising money so others can have access to the same music therapy he did.
Rugby against Scotland
We'll
this
have
weekend
that
at a
and
hometown
more.
stadium.
Plus, Elizabeth will be here with a full weather forecast. That's in 15 minutes.
New research shows a sharp north-south divide in the number of people needing emergency hospital treatment for lung conditions. The figures are 3 times higher in some parts of the country than in the richest areas of the United Kingdom. Well, the research by the charity Asthma and Lung UK shows the northwest of England, central Scotland and parts of Northern Ireland had much higher rates of illness and death than other areas. Here's our health correspondent Jim Reid. The family of a head teacher who killed herself while waiting for an Ofsted report on her school have said she was under intolerable pressure. The Ofsted inspection downgraded Ruth Perry's primary school in Reading from outstanding to inadequate. Well, teaching unions have called for school inspections to be paused, but the Department for Education says they are hugely important. Let's talk to our education editor, Bramwyn Jeffries. Has this reignited, really, the debate about Ofsted school inspections? Bramwyn, thank you very much indeed. A BBC investigation has found that 7 British patients who travelled to Turkey for weight loss surgery died after operations there. Others have returned home with serious health issues after gastric sleeve operations, during which more than 70% of the stomach is removed. Well, the operations used to treat morbid obesity are carried out in the UK, but it can take years to get one through the National Health Service. So some people do travel abroad for treatment. Monica Plaha report now does contain some graphic images. The Olympic gold medalist Maddie Hinch has announced she's retiring from hockey at the age of 34, saying that the tank is empty. The goalkeeper saved all 4 penalties in the 2016 Olympic final shootout to lead Team GB to their first women's hockey gold. Our sports correspondent Joe Curry has this report. All right, let's see what's happening with the weather. The latest forecast for you comes from Ben Rich. Hi, Ben.
Hi there, Ben. Thank you very much. It has been a soggy March so far for many parts of the UK, not least for this weather watcher in Warwickshire and in Cambridge.
Thank you very much indeed, Ben. And that is all from the BBC News at 1. So it's goodbye from me, and on BBC One now we'll join the BBC's news teams where you are. Do have a very good afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome to BBC London. I'm Angie George. The head of the Metropolitan Police, Sir Mark Rowley, says he's determined to put things right. It's after a report found the force to be racist, misogynistic and homophobic. The review carried out by Baroness Casey says the force needs a complete overhaul to restore public trust. It must be forced to change, she says, if it doesn't respond adequately to the serious systemic and institutionalised failings raised. Well, we'll have lots more on that in our main programme tonight at 6:30. The Football Association has charged Fulham striker Alexander Mitrovic and manager Marco Silva after they were both sent off at the weekend. It happened during Sunday's FA Cup quarter-final defeat against Manchester United. It's thought the player could face a lengthy spell out of the game after the FA said a standard 3-match ban was clearly insufficient. Basildon is getting more than £4 million to turn empty properties into digital workshops. It's hoped the money will support people working in film, TV, gaming and animation. Now to the story of Phoenix, a young musician from Putney. He's been having music therapy since the age of 3 after being diagnosed with speech delay and autism. He's now using his talents to raise funds to support other children and adults to benefit from the same support he had. Very talented. And finally this lunchtime, Sir David Attenborough has planted an oak tree in honour of the late Queen to officially open a new Platinum Jubilee woodland in Richmond Park. The naturalist and TV presenter was joined by local school children and said it was a fitting tribute to her memory. The Plant a Tree for the Jubilee project has seen more than 1 million new trees planted in the Queen's name to celebrate her reign and create a lasting environmental legacy. Time for the weather now. Here's Elizabeth.
Hello there, good afternoon. It's certainly still mild out there. We've still got a brisk southwesterly wind blowing, some more showers to come in the forecast. But the big difference between today's weather and yesterday's is that today there's a lot more brightness and sunshine around, as illustrated by our weather watchers here in southwest London. It does stay rather blustery too, some brighter spells at times.
Well, that's all from us this lunchtime. Of course, there'll be lots more on our top story in our main programme tonight. That's with Luxmi. Do join her at 6:30. Until then, though, bye for now.